I would bring the meeting to the official opening and convene, hereby convene. Unfortunately, Jill isn't here, huh?
Where's Ted's gavel? You need to get Ted's
They're
gavel.
over in the museum, right?
Right.
I thought you had one once.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Got the ones from Ted. Ted gave us
Yeah.
2 gavels, actually.
I banged my head on the table for you, but it gives me a headache.
But you can see, Ken, it's a serious meeting.
It's a winning gavel.
Jill Roberts sent me a text this morning. She's got a severe injury. She's in a cast or something and on crutches. So that's what.
Was she going on a business trip?
Yeah, and then she said that was canceled, but she thought she might either be here or be on the
See if
phone.
we can.
Oh, dear.
Let's say.
Skiing
Oh,
accident.
yeah, was it Sue?
Torn calf. Okay. So Jill Roberts has a torn calf. Bob Morgan is still having trouble with medication and what have you. And I think I indicated in that email the other day that he was in the hospital last week, and so we continue to be concerned about Bob's health. He didn't sound bad, but he just
That's too bad.
yeah, it's just his heart is not in sync, and he's having some respiratory problems too. So maybe before going any further, we can go around and introduce ourselves to Ken.
Oh, yes, we have a card.
So Larry Dorsey, the chair.
Karen Waligorski, secretary.
Lindsay Llewellyn, regular commission.
Ryan Meyer, staff liaison.
I'm Ken Lish. I'm filling in for Laura as the trustee liaison today.
I'm Katie Olson.
Mary Cartwright.
Paul Gibbs and Maureen Hogue.
Errol Waligorski, commission member.
Nice to meet all of you guys.
So thanks for coming today, Ken. Appreciate you being here. Okay, so looks like we're down to the minutes of the last meeting. So Karen can read those minutes and pay attention and see if there's anything that needs to be corrected or amended. So, okay, Karen.
Okay, Superior Historical Commission meeting minutes, February 15th. The meeting was called to order by Chairperson Larry Dorsey. In attendance were commission members Mary Cartwright, Larry Dorsey, Lindsay Llewellyn, Bob Morgan, Katie Olson, Jill Roberts, Errol Waligorski, and Karen Waligorski. Staff Brian Meyer and Lydia Yecki. Town board member Laura Schlazinski and others. Gladys Forshee, Paul Gibbs, Maureen Hogue, and Ross Morgan. The minutes of the January 18th meeting were read. Bob Morgan moved they be approved. Mary Cartwright seconded the motion, and the motion carried. Next, the agenda for the meeting was approved, moved by Jill Roberts and seconded by Katie Olson. Public comment. Gladys Forshee, 404 South 3rd Avenue, Superior, reported on a meeting she had with Patrick Hammer regarding the Cookies with Veterans event and getting more exposure to the Superior Youth Leadership Council. This group includes 8th to 12th graders and meets the first Wednesday of each month from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. It was suggested that someone from the commission participate in their April meeting. They could also interface with the cemetery committee and perhaps work on a project with them. It was also suggested that they could work on creating a list of veterans living in Superior. Taking a tour of the museum is another possibility. Another public comment by Maureen Hogue, 323 Pheasant Run, Louisville, reported that she will be working with Karen Snortland on the Historical Commission website. She will report on the status at a future meeting. Public comment, Ross Morgan, 305 West Coal Creek Drive, Superior, was present to inform everyone that he has friends from Woodwright in Illinois who have handmade tools, no power tools and no screws. They would like to display them next to the museum at some time in the future. He needs a park permit to do this, and this will warrant further discussion. The treasurer's reports were given as follows. Bob Morgan reported that the historic donations account currently has a balance of $815.50. Brian Meyer reported that there is $4,432.24 remaining in the 2019 historic preservation account. Old business. Debriefings were discussed as follows. Turnout for the museum opening on February 2nd was low. Mary Cartwright and Karen Waligorski attended the committee training on February 2nd. They reported that it was a good session and particularly enjoyed meeting people from the other committees. Those not attending should read the booklet provided, watch the video, and sign the form in the back of the booklet. The CPI conference was February 4th through 7th in Denver. Larry Dorsey and Lindsay Flewelling both gave presentations. Both received good responses. Number 2, the cataloging, filing, and donation screening committee did not meet this month. Number 3, Jill Roberts reported on the oral history video QR project. She has created a draft of scripts for Grasso Park as well as the industrial mine. Bob and Karen W. still need to get scripts to her for information they present at Asti Park for the second grade field trips. Number 4, Karen Waligorski reported that there has been no correspondence the past month. Number 5, Brian reported that Karen Snortland will contact the cemetery restoration working group for an upcoming meeting. The possibility of putting markers on the unmarked graves was suggested. Number 6, Katie reported that she is proceeding on the historic photos planning for the sports stable. She is finalizing the flyer based on member comments. Number 7, Larry reported that Ron Kaiser is continuing work on the industrial mine diorama. He emailed the latest pictures of it to us, now including mine camp houses. Everyone likes what is completed thus far. Number 8, Lindsay Flewelling led a discussion of the long-term planning priorities from her list, continuing from the January meeting. Number 9, Brian passed out the latest 2019 work plan. Number 10, the spring education program is scheduled for April 24th, 7 p.m. at the town hall. It will be a meeting on mountain and mining women in the Colorado Women's Hall of Fame by Alexis Anderton. Number 11, under other business, we discussed getting the Law Superior book to the schools. Mary will take copies to Monarch K through 8, Katie copies to Superior Elementary, and Jill copies to El Dorado K through 8. Wally stated that there are some boards with nails sticking out in Grasso Park next to the barn that need to be disposed of. New business, staffing for the March 2nd museum opening was discussed. Number 2, the next Boulder Heritage Roundtable meeting is planned for February 21st at the Boulder Public Library. Number 3, the next ANFRAM meeting is February 18th at the Westminster Historical Society facility. Number 4, Larry passed out a flyer on a presentation he is giving on the shootout at the Superior Depot on February 27th, 7 p.m. in Niwot. Number 5, the date for the historical walk will be May 4th after the museum closes at 2 p.m. Larry, Bob, and Wally will put up stakes the day before. Number 6, the election of officers was next on the agenda. Mary Cartwright was elected vice chairperson, moved by Jill Roberts, seconded by Bob Morgan, motion carried. Larry Dorsey was elected chairperson, moved by Bob Morgan, seconded by Jill Roberts, motion carried. Number 7, under other new business, Mayor Folsom donated an old picture to us that he found in a home he is remodeling in original town. We need to preserve it by having it framed. There are no plans to restore it. Katie Olson will take responsibility for the framing. Brian reminded us that we need to be brainstorming potential names for the trail above the industrial mine. to be presented to the board at their June meeting. Bob moved that the meeting be adjourned at 11:38, and Wally seconded the motion. Our next regular meeting will be March 15th at the town hall.
Thank you, Karen. Any additions or corrections?
Just for the record, it was suggested, and I also took La Superior copy to Centauros High School, not Centauros, Monarch High School and Louisville Middle School.
Oh, hold on just a second.
And
Okay, copies to Monarch High School,
yeah.
and what was the second thing?
Louisville Middle School.
Oh, okay.
And when I took the book into Monarch K-8, the receptionist said, "Oh, this is so good." She said, "Our second graders really love coming to the museum." So I thought that was fun
great.
feedback. Yeah.
My one comment, I don't think we really decided we were gonna frame it, or did we?
Oh.
We're just gonna have it kind of shrink wrapped for right now, that poster. I can't remember if I actually said we were gonna frame it or not. I just got
okay.
it,
Okay,
I'm just getting it preserved, protected for right now.
Okay.
So,
preserve and
because it's,
protect, preserve.
you can
and
just say preserved right now, yeah.
Well, I think the framing was the mayor's terminology, so.
Yeah, so mainly.
Oh,
I think that's what
okay.
he's expecting.
Okay.
We may be
Because it's
kind of
pretty big.
constrained by,
Yeah, exactly.
by the object itself, whether it can be.
Yeah, just kind of big. So we're
Economically.
taking care of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll change that.
And I don't know if we need to do anything with the stuff about the woodworkers from Ross Morgan. I think what they were saying was that the things they create are created without using power tools, and they're created with hand tools and joined with pegs and things like that instead of screws, but
It was like
Oh.
19th century style or something.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let me read that again.
I could word that better. It was a little awkward.
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
actually.
I think that's probably what we're, yeah, just smooth that out a little bit maybe.
Are we going to discuss that in the agenda here?
At the end of
Uh-huh.
the agenda.
Yes.
Oh, okay. And I'll save any comments until we get to that point.
Yeah, it's in the new business department there with Wally.
Oh, I must have missed it.
Turn page. Slide devil.
Oh, there we go. That'll be fine.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the minutes as corrected?
I make a motion to accept.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Lindsay seconds, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Ayes opposed, no. Motion carries.
So, there we go. Minutes are approved. Need a motion to approve the agenda, today's agenda.
Looks good to me. I so move.
Okay.
This is a new thing to us, Ken.
Yeah.
Having agenda.
Mary
A new thing
moved
for most committees, I think.
Mary Cartwright?
Yes, Mary moved to accept today's agenda. Second?
I'll second it.
Wally's in on the second.
Sharing all of this. That's
Okay, I think we got a consensus on that. Again, with our new format here, we're going to go to public comment. So we're going to hear from Maureen, and she has some news about her own book, and we're at progress on the town website.
I think the very first I wanted to let everybody know I had published the book I was working on. I'd like to share the brochure with you. How many copies for to distribute?
I don't know, 12. I'll pass them around. And you can give them back to me if you're not interested.
No, I can't give them all away,
Oh, okay.
just for the people here.
Well, anybody that would have interest can come back and give us one.
okay.
That's
Got it
probably
from
good.
church, so.
So quite a-
Now I can give the condition message priority. This book was my first contact as a freelance writer. Now I can give the pro bono priority. I did send Larry an update of the draft of the web page. My approach is to tell the story story with pictures and picture captions. The format is designed so that you can add to it as new events come along. For example, when they complete the Pioneer Cemetery or the diorama, then you just need to add a good picture and a caption, about 150 words. I can create a standard format to fill in the blanks. That's what I'd ask Larry to do this time around.
I think, I guess my reaction is good work. I'm glad she was able to put the time in on this, and we'll just stay in touch between Karen Snortland and myself and Mary. We'll just keep coordinating on this. And Ken, what's going on is that trying to make the town website more up to date with the history of the town and some of the events that the historical
Yes,
commission does.
Karen said she had collected photos, Larry, but I wasn't sure how many or which ones. I can write the captions. For example, I had to update because Ted Asti passed away last June. So now the dates of his life are included in the caption, but I need the dates for when he served as mayor of Superior. It's fine-tuning only you can do since you've been doing all the writing for 15 years.
Maureen had an idea too that we might need to update the way Denzel and Ted are listed as members for life or whatever, since they're deceased. That maybe they would be something like past honorary members, something like that. So
Yeah, when I send out thank you notes, I used to have them in that long list of people, and lately I've been taking them off.
yeah, well, they're still on the website. So,
Oh, yeah, right.
so
This is just another piece of that.
yeah.
Or in brackets, now deceased or something afterward, or something.
Let me see. I think what she suggested sounded like a good idea. I'll get that up here real quick. Or maybe I won't. I'm having trouble now.
Or you could have their life dates or something,
Yeah.
passed on or remember.
But-
Right, the books are still listed for $10 on the website. We're gonna change it. 15, so
It's 15?
yeah, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but
Yeah.
I was on there the other day and saw that it still said 10.
Okay.
Oops, does she need us to have anything more today? No, I can't.
Well, Larry, I did wonder how you describe the commission in the legal sense. This is not a 501c3 charity. It is a partnership with the town. If the town of Superior is a regulatory municipality, then what do you call this commission?
Well, I think the answer.
Newcomers would want to know if it were a 501c3, a donation would be a tax deduction.
I think the answer is that it's a commission of the town, so it's like any other board or commission, like the planning board or parks board or whatever. It just has to be a.
So not a 501.
Brian, you know?
Yes, it has certain legal responsibilities.
So we're really an
That's
arm
what
of
I
of the town government rather than an independent society or something like that.
Yes, well, I wondered how you handled donations. And Katie had mentioned she thought you should sell the book to make a profit. But people like to know that's a tax deduction. I didn't think it could be a tax deduction for a commission because you have a budget from the town. Yeah.
That would be correct.
Not a tax deduction.
Well, I think it would, maybe another CPA would be needed, but tax deductible donations are available to local, if you donate to a local government, if the contribution is solely for a public purpose. So it could still fall within it, but I think
We'll check into
another accountant would be, who specializes in this, would be needed.
I can ask my mom.
I'm a CPA, but not in this realm of things.
Oh, yeah, okay, so yeah, so it's, I don't think anyone's ever questioned that before, but I
Yes.
think most people just
Well,
assume it's
there are
tax deductible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine points we need to work out there. A newcomer will have many questions. But are you going to try to sell us superior for a profit? The kitty smush and carry. I haven't been able to follow.
I think the idea was
Yes.
that it would be a suggested donation. So I don't know if that wording makes it different.
Well, we were selling at a loss before, so,
So yes, I think we thought we would, like Lindsay just said,
yeah.
the suggested donation for the book is $15.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, so it was in the wording.
Is that a loss?
Not now.
Not now.
Okay.
It was before, yeah. Well, I think it was. We did sell for the suggested
Oh, it's
retail
now
price.
15 and not 10.
As a, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Here's my business.
Well, people want receipts so they can itemize on their tax bill, things like that.
I don't, it hasn't really been an issue. People just, I think they realize they're donating to the museum, and so by buying the book, and so it's more, sometimes even,
Well, if you receive an item, then you can't write it off as tax. So, anyway.
I guess it's just tell her to continue to proceed and stay in touch, coordinate with Karen and me, I guess. Karen S. So that will move on down to discussion items. Thanks to Maureen for all of her work out into the future. And we'll have the treasurer's report. I think Brian will probably end up doing both of them, since Bob isn't here.
The historic commission donations account is $815.50.
Was that 5-0 or 1-5? 850 or
$815.50.
Okay, thanks.
15,
Yes.
81550.
thank you.
And the historic preservation account balance is $4,432.24.
All right, thank you, Brian. And, so going down into the old business and debriefing on the opening March 2nd, that won't take too long, huh? Wally and I made our way over to the museum and then went home. Two reasons. It was the weather, and then we couldn't get the lockbox open. And so I think that there's the town skeleton crew on staff on the Saturdays, and so I called the other Brian, I call him, and Brian Hall, and then he called later on, and they actually got it thawed out. Apparently it froze somehow, so that the lever wouldn't move. So we didn't open on the 2nd.
Yeah, we tried to get it open, and then we thought we better back off before we ended up breaking the lid on it, so.
Right on.
And if it's something where the water's dripping into it or whatever causes that to freeze, if that's gonna be an issue, it probably should be addressed somehow to try and protect it.
but it's the first time it's ever happened, especially that new lockbox. So I think it was just, but you're right, Wally, you can keep an eye on it, but hopefully it was just a one-time deal. Went to the ANFRAM meeting down at Westminster and, shut up. Oh no, okay. I'm just gonna turn this off. And it was actually at the Westminster Grange Hall. I don't know if you knew there was a Westminster Grange Hall, but on 73rd Avenue near Lowell and 73rd, there's what was the old Westminster downtown, which is to say, a grocery store and kind of a small department store and that sort of thing, and the Grange Hall. And it's a nice old hall, and we had a pretty good meeting. They've got a screen in there that's been restored. You know how back in the old days on a stage, like especially in the theaters or stage, they'd have a screen that had all the advertising on it. That's how they'd raise the money, and then the local merchants would advertise. So it's been restored, and it really looks good. So that was a good meeting that day. Had some Dickey's barbecue. It wasn't too bad. The round table met, and right now the historic round table is mostly working at getting nominations for the various preservation awards, including the Square Nail Awards and so on. I was thinking over the information that I heard that day. I think maybe the most important one was that the Norland Library archives, history archives have been notoriously, let's say, difficult to deal with, not easy to deal with when researchers go in. It is really not a comfortable relationship between researchers and archive staff. So here they have a new archivist, and that person is very open and cooperative with people who want to come in and do research, local research. So, so that's a change in the university, our Norland Library archives. Well, I gave the program over at Niwot. Wally, thank you very much, Wally. Wally went along and didn't bring along a old tomato or anything like that either. So it was.
I was going to bring a ripe cucumber.
So, you want to tell them what'd you see happen out there, Wally?
How was the speaker?
Yeah, how was the speaker?
Actually, Larry had some new. I've been to one of his other ones, and he's had some new stuff in there that I wasn't aware of. I think Larry did an outstanding presentation, and I really mean that. He put a lot of work into it. He had everybody's attention in there, and they had quite a crowd in there. There was 100 people there that night, so they had pretty much a packed house. And I can only say that I think Larry deserves a huge pat on the back, whatever you want to call it, an accolades. He just did a fantastic job.
Oh, Wally.
And I'm not trying to blow smoke on Larry.
Yeah, I guess
He really
Did
deserves
you pay
it.
him to say all
No,
that?
I guess I owe him a lunch, don't I?
And may I
Peanut butter
add,
sandwich.
may I add that Larry did get an honorarium, which he turned over to Brian for the Historical Commission, which I think was
That's nice.
very kind.
Oh, shucks. Well, thanks, Wally. That was,
I wasn't trying to blow smoke on you. I really mean that. You did a
Sounds like
fantastic
we all
job.
missed something good.
well, I think a lot of you seen the shootout show before I did over in Louisville a few years ago, but I have been adding to it and sprucing it up, spicing it up a little bit more and things like that. So I was really pleased. Kathy Kaler is the chair of the Historical Society over there, and she does really good programs in general, and I was really happy to be a part of that. So thanks again, Wally.
You deserve it.
Cemetery Working Group. Some of us braved the elements on Wednesday and came down and talked it over. Let's see. Brian, would you like to
Yeah,
some
no, I guess,
summary on that?
yeah, I see that we have it on number 5 as well, but.
Oh, okay, I thought it was gonna be in two, there it is, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine, we can provide an update now.
Okay.
Feel free, you or Mary, to chime in here, but
Yeah.
Karen and I met with Daryl McCool, the cemetery working group. I know, sorry, Karen and Wally, I know weather was a little nasty, you guys couldn't make it, but we met with Mary, Larry, and Daryl McCool, put together a little presentation on an update on where we're at with the project. We provided a list of some like a la carte items for the group to choose to be implemented this year. So a reminder, there's $30,000 to be spent for restoration up at the site for this year. Kind of briefly, the items that we discussed are, and actually I should share with you guys kind of the conceptual drawing that the consultants we've been working with. And this kind of will make a little bit more sense. I don't think I have quite enough for the group, but so we're focusing on interior. Focusing on interior. Oh yeah, sorry, that's the. Yeah. Focusing on interior of the fence because really the park and the development, residential development outside of that area, it doesn't really make any sense to do any work outside of the cemetery if there's development within the next couple of years being planned. So some of the, going back to the items that we gave the group, so potentially doing a walking path around the entire perimeter. So if you look at the 4 loops, doing just the exterior loop, also doing work with that gathering area right at the entrance. So some interpretive signage, like a stone block bench, set like a gathering space to provide some information on the site. Grave marker or restoration, or I guess preservation of some of the damaged headstones currently. That was given as an option as well. Also focusing on just doing all 4 pressure fine paths, or loops. That was given as an option as well. Let's see, I think there was one other item. Do you remember, Mary? I think, bear with me here. Trail phase 1, interior. Yeah, I think that was, oh yeah, I'm sorry, perimeter fence. So shoring up some of the damaged like spindles and some of the skirting along the fence. So anyhow, fast forwarding a little bit here, we had dollar amounts for each of those items, and we kind of tasked the group on Wednesday with choosing what they'd like to see done this year. So for the 10,000 of the 30 is going to be like a mandatory site analysis, site prep. So surveying, doing another underground sonar, making sure we know exactly where all the unmarked burials are at, and staking, like I said, erosion control and all that. So that's 10,000 of that 30. So really $20,000 to spend, and the group came to a consensus to this year we'll put out to bid doing the interior, working on the interior gathering area, so with the signage and the stone block bench, and then also doing just the exterior loop. So if you follow the path, nothing that'll go inside there, but just kind of a meandering path, along the kind of perimeter of the site. And then we also said that, as far as, I guess, going back, $200,000 is the amount for everything, including all the restoration on the inside, some of the exterior work just outside the fence, so flagpole, nice signage, entry signage, improving the gate. So if you look at $200,000 as being like kind of the end goal, we told the working group, potentially making a budget recommendation to the town board in the future for more funds in 2020 or 2021. And so yeah, so that's, I think I got everything there. Oh, landscaping. So that's a pretty pricey item. On our drawings, we did get some kind of planting, a landscaping screen with some lower level plants, not to obstruct the views to the west, but it would go along the fence line on the south and the west there. Kind of picture it as covering up the roof of the sports stable, but not obstructing any of the views. So that was a little pricey, so we didn't include that as a potential a la carte item this year. I think that was roughly $20,000, and that'll probably come in the future. So I don't know, Mary or Larry, if you guys have anything to add, but that's kind of where we're at.
And we chose, can you just go back to the?
Yeah, we chose the perimeter, so to working on the perimeter loop, walking path, so doing a crusher fine path on the perimeter, so if you just follow the exterior there of the loops, and then that interior gathering area right when you walk in, having a gathering space there. Karen.
Including the bench?
Including the bench, yeah.
And interpretive.
And some probably interpretive signage as far as maybe the site itself, and then even the whole, I guess, what you're looking at, potential development or development going on right now. Karen Snortland and I are also something else that came out, we're gonna look at potential grant money for repairing the headstones as well. And then I think some of the immediate perimeter fence issues, we could possibly have our parks staff maybe do some of that in-house as well. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Lastly, keep remembering some stuff here. The unmarked, the markers for the unknown sites. I think the Youth Leadership Council, I know Gladys mentioned that last week. They're going to kind of be tasked with doing some of that. So, sorry, Katie.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
Will we get all that data, all the sonar, all the groundwork and stuff? What's under there? They give that to us?
Yeah,
That's
for
part
sure,
of
yeah.
it?
Well, we already have it from the one that was done back in 04 and 05.
Yeah.
And that's very complete.
Yeah, but that's part of the
But they're going to
10K.
redo it again because doing any work up there, we want to, given the sensitivity of the site and stuff, we want to be for sure that, it's all.
What's down there?
Because I guess some of the topography and some of it didn't all match up with the documents we gave them, and but it'll be part of that site, the site prep, doing that again.
So do the yellow and the orange
Oh, yeah.
blocks on here represent what was found through the sonar, or is that
Yes.
grave sites?
Yeah, sorry. So the yellow squares are the documented grave sites from 2002.
Oh, yeah.
The Historic Commission. The orange are the ground penetrating radar. So when I think David Villa was his name in the early 2000s, did the ground penetrating radar. And then the green are possible grave sites, possible that are there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And they have planned in there for the parking. There's a street that's going to go through that area, and then parking at or on or around near the gate will be a part of
It's supposed to be, what, a 6 to 8 parking area put in there, 6 to 8 vehicles.
Well, 4 to 6, something in that
Yeah,
neighborhood.
somewhere's in there. We need to
Less
have.
than one. Less than one.
Now, do we have 2 Civil War vets up there? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Is one of them not marked?
One of them is a headstone, but the headstone's been everything's rubbed off, removed, yes.
Now, did we address that at one time about having the VA or somebody replace that?
I don't think, we've talked about it, we never have taken any steps to research that.
I have a good friend of mine who, what was he the head of here in the state of Colorado?
Well, he was I'm not sure what his title was. He was the top person for the VFW in the state of Colorado.
And I need to contact him and find out if there's anything that we can do possibly through the VFW. I can't guarantee anything, but he just finished his term, I think, in January. So I think I need to try and get a hold of him and see if there's any avenue we have through them to perhaps get a marker up in there.
Yeah, we need to get that definite, because we've always heard that if the headstone was moved or the grave was moved, and they took everything off the headstone. So we know it was in the grave and all that, but there's just nothing in that, shield-shaped indentation on the Civil War headstone. Excuse me, Mary.
Another contact would be the Veterans Museum in Broomfield. They might know
That's a good idea.
who can do restorations or something like that.
Okay, so we are moving on down the line on the cemetery then. We've got the plan for this year, and then
And when does the budget,
CPRA.
when should we propose, if we wanted to put more money in, or ask for more, when would we do that? Soon, or
I mean, from
when the
staff, I
budget's-
know Patrick starts talking about it like late spring, early summer, and then they start.
Is it November, or is it actually January? I mean, is January when it
January
starts, but,
is the fiscal year.
okay, but maybe November is when it gets.
Well,
Like, yeah, as far as like a number amount, I mean, I think like May, June,
Okay,
to have
start
a number
thinking about it.
yeah.
Okay.
and prior to being on the board, I was on the open space committee. The guidance that we always went by with that is to make sure we got in for early budget preparation was late spring.
Yeah.
Just because it
Okay.
takes so long to pull the budgets together. The board will typically look at it in November for approval.
Okay.
Well, so far, the town staff and the trustees have been real proactive on this whole issue too, so.
And then lastly, real quick, the work for this year, I think we decided to try to get it done by August, in hopes that, maybe bringing back the historic cemetery tour. That'd be great if this was
Great.
done by then, so, that's the goal.
Is there a possibility there'll be some form of a road up in there so that we could open that, even if it's gravel or whatever? Have that,
Better walking, huh? If people, even if they have to walk up, they could
yeah.
smoother than what it is right now.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, I think anything's gonna be better than what it's been the last couple of years, but, as far as a road up there, I doubt it by August. But we can make it work. I mean, they could make it work the last 2 years. It's just a matter of logistics. Like, do we want to make people walk up, so.
And I reminded us on Wednesday that we used to do it in October because we were kind of dovetailing with the Columbia Cemetery functions in Boulder, people that look for the ghosts and things like that. But we decided to move it back to August because of weather, since we got snowed out and rained out, 2 events, and so that's something to keep in mind too. That just adds, if we do it, it adds to all of our chores we have in the fall with our second grade field trips and all that sort of thing too. So don't want to be too hot either, but probably rather be hot than get snowed on like we did that one year. So
You guys, you mentioned a flag that maybe down the way we could do
Yeah.
a flag, like a really cool big flag that
Yeah.
people could see. That would be so neat. I think that would really catch everyone's eye if
you
we
need a
could have a
flagpole
flag.
with flags on it.
Yeah. Even that you could see from the highway.
Right.
Because you can just see the very tip of the fence. It would be really neat if everyone all of a sudden started to see a flag up there.
Mm-hmm.
But that takes me to people going, right? I guess it's up all the time.
Yeah, I think that's all part of that
Mostly up.
development of that entrance to, to that landscape and all that, be including
That'd be neat.
a flagpole,
Really
you
neat.
bet.
Well, I think no matter what, even if we don't do the cemetery, I mean, hopefully we can do that walk, but I think we should plan a really neat, like, open house, open cemetery.
Yeah.
Just for town people,
Grand opening.
even the trustees, and so that everyone's seeing that we're using the money wisely and
Right.
doing stuff, and
Good idea.
so it'd be neat.
Yeah. Okey-doke, I'm going to move on then. If there's no other questions or comments. The cataloging crew did not meet in the last month. Oral history project, Mary, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, just that Jill was asking us to, please to look at the draft
Yeah.
and get comments back to her.
She sent that draft out quite a while ago, so it's, what she'd really like would be more reaction from the commission on what she has written and then fill in the blanks in a lot of cases too. She's got a lot of spots for
Now,
us.
I brought my copy that was printed off, if people need that to look at and all that. We could make some copies out there.
Yeah.
Shall I go see if they can do that?
Anybody want?
I sent my edits to her.
Yeah, and she mentioned you did, thank you. Anyone want a copy?
I think I've still got it.
Yeah, okay.
That was through email, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gave some reaction back to her, but I need to do some more.
I'm sorry. My husband lived in He's not here.
Sorry.
Okay, then, correspondence, Karen, anything new in that department?
Nothing has been sent out, but I have a card here, just a thinking of you type card, get well card for Bob Morgan, and I wrote a couple things in here, but I'll pass it around, you can sign it and say whatever you'd like to.
Let's start that way, so that way I'll be at the end of the.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
All right, thank you, Karen. Historic photos?
Yeah, yes, I
Yes,
have
what?
something to report. It's
Yay.
very exciting. Karen Snortland and I met with TJ, the new executive director at the chamber.
Oh, yeah.
And he's only been there, I don't know what he said, 6 weeks, I don't know. He hasn't been there that long. But the meeting mostly, I told him about, I wanted to just tell him about the commission and what we do and what we handle and ways that we can partner. But then obviously I wanted to talk to him about this project. And he said this is really bad timing right now. He said they're asking all of their members for a lot of different stuff right now. He just said the spring is really busy. And so his suggestion was to start 4th of July at our booth and or also the Chili Fest and start promoting it to businesses then, pass out flyers, maybe even have a framed one at our booth. And I know we don't normally do a Chili Fest booth, but if we wanted to really start working on it, he said that would be a good idea. He was excited about it. He thought it seemed, he already chose a photo that he wanted that the chamber's gonna purchase, so.
Oh, really?
And he said he'd be willing to have us draft a letter together to send to all their members with him signing it and us signing it with a flyer, which is really awesome. Oh, and then the big thing was that he said, why don't we end it at the Skate with Santa in December and have all the photos in the lobby of the sports stable for people to see? Which seemed like to me it feels really, so he's like, you could start 4th of July and then, I was like, that's a really long time frame. But maybe we could just start promoting it and then him and I, we're gonna come up with a kind of some dates that this is when we're gonna send the letter, this is when we'll start promoting it. But then have like the big reveal, Skate with Santa. That was his idea. Karen and I thought it was a good idea. It's a way there were lots of people there already to see it. It's just obviously far away from right now, but I think if we want to partner with them, which is a pretty important thing to do, then we could start late summer, but it would probably require having a booth at the Chili Fest, which would be fine. I mean, do we have to pay for that? Booth for the Chili Fest? Do we have to make chili for the Chili Fest?
No, you have to drink.
Store old, like really old chili or something?
You have to drink
Sitting
beer
out.
occasionally.
Yeah, sitting out.
Gotta get going now.
So that would be like the catch is we just would have to get a little bit more involved with doing that. Probably have a booth, have a framed photo there, which would be kind of cool for people to see, pass out flyers. If we didn't do a booth, it would be an opportunity to walk around and pass out the flyers and talk to businesses.
Okay.
And then have it like stop by, I don't know, November 1st, something like that, to have the time to make them, and then present them at the Skate with Santa. So that's kind of the plan, but we could also do it on our own. I think they would still support, he would still write a letter, like if we wanted to do it in May, he would still support us, but he made it sound like, well, and we've talked about how can we get involved with a winter thing. We talked about it, you know, if we're not going to do something at the museum in December, maybe this is a way to kind of promote the commission at Skate with Santa. So what do you guys all think?
Sounds great. Sounds like a good master plan there, I think, yeah.
You guys okay with waiting? I mean, it's not that far away now, but, you know.
I think time will go quickly until
Yeah.
July. So.
Seems to, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you have all the materials ready, then
Right.
it'd be easy to just like jump right into that.
Okay, good. Okay, then
So
I'll
you
just.
like the idea of businesses adopting a photograph?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and he even mentioned, he's like, I think there might be businesses that, so these photos would go in the sport, I have a really hard time saying sport. It's just sport.
No ass.
Sport stable. But then when you say it together, it's really hard because it sounds like you're saying sports stable.
Yes.
I always thought it was sports.
Yeah, no, it's sport.
Is it really? I
Yes.
thought it was sports.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Then now you're gonna think about it every time you try and say it, right?
Right.
So he just said, I think businesses would be willing to do it, and he said, but I would also think that businesses would want a photo in their business. So he said, maybe we could do something like you give an extra 100 or something, you know, and get a smaller version of that same photo for their business. Because it's like you're just doing it as a donation for the sports stable hallways, which is, you know, I mean, it's a neat project, but then it's really just for that. But we could say if you want one for yourself, then we would just duplicate it and you could get a smaller one. So he thought that was a cool idea because people probably would want one.
And we could have a little note with that one, thanks to Jones Printing for
Yeah.
their donation.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah.
Sounds good.
Are you guys willing or interested in doing a booth at the Chili Fest?
Well, I think we should be able to come up with some personnel for that, yeah.
Okay, it's like,
Yeah, we
it's not
used to
Labor Day,
have
it's
one
later,
several years
right?
ago. We did.
Saturday after Labor Day.
After, Saturday after Labor Day, okay.
Saturday after Labor Day.
And then I did talk to him just in general about, I said, now that you like have my contact info, we're just always available if you have questions about the history or anything that we do. I did mention to him that we would love to do some type of recognition of 5, 10, 15, 20-year businesses in partnership with him. And he seemed a little bit, he had like 5 meetings that day. He was a little bit over talking, but so I just said, let's think about that in the future, that once he gets settled into the job, we'd love to do something like that, because that would be neat to do a little plaque or some, you know, some type of little presentation for long-term businesses. So that's it. So I'll just move forward if everyone likes that idea and keep working on it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Excellent with that, so
Just might get done this
thanks,
year.
Katie, for that, and it's, it sounds very positive.
Yeah, good.
Okay, industrial mine diorama, I think of Sunday, I went down and looked at it, and, excuse me, so Ron's at the place where he's just putting the finishing touches on it, and there's one big step left, and that is getting the plexiglass cover the front, you know, cut out. Oh, Ken, we're doing a diorama of an HO scale diorama of the coal mine and the sampling of mine camp houses. And it's going to be for being in the museum, although I think we could also bring it over and have it on display in the town hall here sometime too, but it's gonna be at 41 inches by 30 inches.
I was reading about that in some of your prior minutes. So
Okay.
It sounded really interesting.
Oh, it's, I should start including you in some of the photographs, because it's really taking shape nicely. He's gonna finish off the top part, and we're gonna put that plexiglass on there, and, because there's the vertical shaft and then the horizontal shaft. And so the picture I sent the other day showed the little mine figures and the mine car down in the,
Really cute.
down in the depths. So he's got to do the cage that goes up and down, and the plexiglass. So I located the plexiglass yesterday, so we'll just keep on keeping on.
Oh, aren't there burrows?
Pardon?
Can you have little burrows? Little donkeys? What were they?
Oh, burrows, oh.
Mules and
Mule, thank you. I knew it was something
I thought
like
you were
that. It could
talking
be a
about like
burrow.
prairie dog
They all kind
burrows
of
or something.
Not burrows, not
You might have had.
mules.
Mules, yes.
Are there any mini mules?
Yes, he's located the mini cars, the mini people, and I think he's gonna be able to find some mini mules as well, so.
mules are very important.
Yeah, they are.
Absolutely, yes.
Not burrows.
So, it's,
You know, moving on from that, I just had a flash, which almost never happens, so I better say it fast.
do it.
Once it's up, maybe we could get with Jill's help and her expertise and other of you young folks, have QR things there. And like, they can put up and get on their phones about the mules and what Denzel told us about, since his dad was in charge of the mules, and information like that we have that people could, and then with other parts of it about the shaft, about, you know.
That's a good thing. I was thinking about putting little signs on there with
Well, I did
Alan's
too, and then
ability to do those signs.
And
Yeah,
maybe
that's-
both,
Yeah.
Maybe both, you have a little sign, have the QR code on the sign
Yeah.
or something like that, yeah.
for expanding the information.
Yeah. Well, with the technology, the way it is today, I'm sure there'd be somebody that would jump at that. I mean, access the information that way. Yeah. Long-term planning, anything going on over there?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been trying to take a look back at the list and then also at the work plan to see what we thought we should be looking at.
Yeah, you got the bookmark done.
Yeah, so I made
Yay.
these this morning. I can print out more too, but just to see what you guys thought. The bookmarks. And
Boy, look at that orange.
yeah, so I got 5 different colors of fluorescent paper, so we can, like for the fall, have, you know, green or something, and then that way we can tell the difference between the ones that we need to throw away and then the new ones for each time. So, and then on the back, I've got the list of all the events that are going on through the end of June, and then I guess I'd probably lighten up the picture for future.
Do you have another one from
Okay.
Maureen?
That was, I'm good, we're good.
What was the
Good job.
coding again?
Oh, I just thought, you know, each time we print off a new set, so like the ones for July through December, we'd use a different color, and then we would know we can recycle these.
Got it.
No.
So, what do you ask for? Like, you already sent this out, and so people reacted or made corrections or whatever, huh?
Yeah, so if
Well,
you're
that's
good
pretty
with
much
these, then
ready.
we can just have a stack of them at the museum, and then I can print off more if we want to have some.
I think we should be able to put some out here at the receptionist desk too, shouldn't we?
Will we have the mind diorama available for April 6th? Because you've got
Yeah, that was
on
a
there.
question. I didn't know when we would have the line diorama ready, so that was,
It's very likely it should be ready.
April 6th, so that's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
that's soon.
2 weeks.
That's to get delivered,
Yeah.
moved
This is
around.
very minor, but it's T-O-N.
Well, I was going to ask that because I looked it up online and it was a different spelling every time.
Oh,
And on here it's
okay.
T.
I looked it up somewhere and I changed it to O, but maybe that's not right. I don't, well, let's
What are
just
you
leave
Looking
it
at,
then.
at what?
How to spell
Alexis.
Alexis Anderson's last name?
Oh, well, it should be the same as on the flyer. if I spelled it right on the flyer.
It's just been different every time I've looked at it, so. And I looked up her past talks, like in the Netherlands, and it was also spelled 2 different ways.
Oh,
So.
was it really?
Yeah,
So let me,
Look at her email.
yeah,
see how she writes her.
I'm having trouble for some
I
reason.
looked it up
my-
somewhere and it was T-O-N, and so I changed it in the minutes,
And
but
this is Ann.
maybe the source wasn't right.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't
we
think
did
I
get
tried.
it.
No, well,
Yeah, that's Ian,
Ian.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Good, good.
On the flyer, that's probably.
But that's,
Well, this is great.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah, this
great.
is
You know, one other idea is to use
Oh, okay.
this
I
little
was thinking the wrong thing. Yeah.
thing for the rooftop drop, if we were gonna do that again. It's
Yeah.
small, but we could, if we wanted to, you know, for the rooftop drop, you can actually like attach something to it also, but I don't know what we would
That's a good idea,
attach.
too, yeah.
I was trying to find I can't remember, is it like April 1st, June 1st? So I'll look to see, but this would be nice to include in the,
Yeah,
you have to make like 1,000, you have to make a lot of them.
I'd have to do probably just regular paper.
Yeah, or we can send it to that guy, there's that guy that we've used in the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe so.
If you can cut it.
Yeah, and you can just send him the document, if anyone would want to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I was gonna, so we're good with the bookmarks?
Yeah, it looks
Brian, you
great.
think it'd be okay to put those on the receptionist desk too?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll give you these to take to the museum and then I'll make more to give to the receptionist.
And can we like pass, like put them around like the town? I mean, they're small, but aren't there places that have little, like the chamber, do they have little brochure areas and it'd be neat to be able to put them all over the
I don't
place.
know.
That was also something we talked about is brainstorming different places that we can hand out like brochure and things like that. Okay, and then, so along with the bookmarks, I was wondering about getting a different visitor sign-in pad for the museum or something where we can collect emails
That's right, I
and
didn't get
then send out like a regular email that just has upcoming events.
They still have those in gift shops?
Does it need to be a
Gift shop?
book? Does it need to be a book? Can it just be a piece of paper? Is
I
that
think
really
so,
boring?
but it just depends on.
People do like signing the guest book with comments, but we could just format a piece of paper. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I
not
think-
nice enough.
You want to play around with that?
Who, me?
Oh, yeah, I can work on
One
that.
of you?
Okay, so visitor sign-in.
Yeah, because what we should do, make it out of an Excel sheet or something like that?
I don't know, just some type of,
and it could be.
but it would
that-
need to have comments, the spot, you
Yeah.
know, it'd be nice, we still need to be able to have comments on it, right? Because
Yeah.
people like that.
You know, anymore, I
Maybe
think
there's new
the
guest books.
email address is more important than their street address.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it could be that
I'll look too.
more modern books have
Yeah,
a place for that, or else just say address, and we can
Yeah.
put email on there,
Yeah, I
if we
think-
do find a book instead of paper book or whatever.
Okay, and then I wanted to talk about putting together the brochure, which we worked on. My emails for it were from 2017, so it was a while ago.
did we actually work on it?
We had started to work on it, and then I think it sort of became the flyers that you had done before. for
Okay,
the,
sure.
Rooftop drops.
So I can pass out what I came up with. So I just went on to Vistaprint, which prints a bunch of, you can do business cards and a bunch of promotional stuff. And I very, very quickly did just like a basic to at least get something on I did 2 different versions. I mean, this is like rough draft. So it would be open, it would open, we'd have the back and the front and the inside. That was the thought. It could either be that size or a different size. It's fairly easy to put together. I mean, it'll take time, but it's not too hard. And we can do colored photos and old photos. You can do photos like behind the whole thing. I would just need input on, do we want I thought it would be neat to have a picture of Grasso Park, a picture of Asti Park, information about volunteer opportunities, information about the museum. And then I did put in there, we had talked about maybe having the brochure also have points of interest, if someone's walking, with a map. So I just like dropped a map in, and we could say, start here, you know, I mean, that makes it a very big brochure, not big, but that might be too much in there, but.
A lot of stuff in it.
But it's possible. I mean, there's lots of space, and a lot of these, we can choose if we want to do one that, yeah, and I cut it. So we can do a skinny one. You know, we really can do anything. We can do, if we say 4 pages is too much, we can do a different style. Lots and lots of options. And yeah.
I think this is really cool.
And that photo looks so good on there. It was like I just dropped that photo and it
Does look good.
really beautiful.
Looks really good.
Yeah, so I guess my question with the brochure was what everybody thought was sort of mandatory to include.
Maybe we should have a brainstorm a list and then mark down, you know, priority or secondary or something like that, and whether this meeting or another meeting.
Well, so far, it's
I mean, I
getting
think
all the highlights, I think.
it makes sense to have like about us, volunteer opportunities. I think a little map would be good. Maybe not with a walking tour if we had to.
Maybe
take it
just a
down,
map.
but just saying, yeah, where the museum is in Grasso Park and the mine. Things like
Is
that.
there, in the La Superior book, is there, wait, isn't there the little map? But it's big. It's not little.
Well, it's showing the
There's a number of maps in the book.
So that would be too big, but, okay, so a map, the sites kind of that are important to us, right? Cemetery and the parks and the mine. Volunteer opportunities when we meet.
Yeah, you got that.
Museum
Oh,
opening.
yeah, the meetings, and then I was thinking too that the historic walk is always on the same day, not the same date, you know, it was the first Saturday
Okay.
of May. So,
Yeah. To put a few, okay.
well, that's sharp. That does look good.
Okay. So we'll just keep
And
working on
then
it.
the website.
Website and contact, yeah.
Yeah, contact information.
On the bookmark, Jill had suggested putting the whole website to get to the commission page, but it was like half of the front of the bookmark because the website is so long.
Is it really? Well, you could just say, you could probably just say that there's a way to, how would you say that? Visit the Town of Superior, find out more on the Town of Superior website or something like
Yeah.
that too. So,
I think that's the best way to do it.
oh, okay. Good.
Okay, then I'll keep working on it with input,
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm
with the
definitely up
deadline.
for helping with that too. And then
Just
I
keep
guess my other
reminding
question
me.
was if we wanted to try to do the rooftop drop thing in April, but
With these.
we could do it with those.
What's the deadline? Is that included, Brian? Oh,
I have it.
Okay.
I think usually it's like, you need it maybe the first week of April. I mean, are they still doing, he's still doing it, right? Is it, I mean, it's still going on.
So, yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah, so we could look, I can email him, I guess, I can email, yeah, TJ.
And we would also need to include this. I mean, to make sure it's really promoted. if it's the first week of April, when does it actually go out?
Yeah,
That's
right, we did
that.
this last year, that happened.
It goes out,
I'll find out and we can see.
yeah,
I
if it
think
works.
it might be later. I think
Yeah.
it might be a little bit
Or it
later.
was like
Yeah.
that same week, so we weren't sure if it actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I can email
Okay.
the chamber.
Cool.
Very good. This is exciting stuff.
Yeah, and then just the install of the mine diorama was the other question. That's happening. At some point.
Definitely gonna
next few
happen at some
weeks.
point,
But
he could
to
finish
be
it next
included
week.
on this, okay.
He could finish it next week, so that would,
And maybe if it does arrive, maybe we should do a separate day that we go over there and look at the space and see it in there and see what needs to be moved around. Because it might not be a good idea to just open at 10 and start moving stuff around, because there might need to be some more major stuff.
yeah, there will have to be that, yeah.
Do you want to email us? And we could have a quick other move-around meeting before it arrives, or the day it arrives, or whatever?
Yeah, I think it'd be good. We know the size and where you planned on putting it, so it'd probably be good to move it, maybe the day before or something like that. Move items around in the museum, yeah.
Okay.
Is there a plan on how they're gonna get it over here?
We can use, I've approached Brian about having town staff take a pickup down and bring it up here.
Oh, okay.
I was a little leery about having it in an open truck,
Yes.
but Ron doesn't seem to think it make too much difference. So if need be, I was thinking maybe even of renting one of those $19.95 an hour vans or something like that. So it'd be covered.
Yeah, there's a possibility that some of that stuff could get blown off the top of that.
He keeps saying, I'm gonna glue everything down,
Yeah.
but going up Indiana with
Yeah, it's windy
out
over
in the
there.
open like that. So,
I would be more in favor of renting in the van.
and I talked to Brian too about having a couple of the young fellows from the town staff to carry it inside. And so,
And
hopefully.
we know it'll go through the door, because that was, I think that was Karen's thought, wasn't it? To make sure it'll go through the door. Yes, I know.
Details.
That's why they make chainsaws.
I would propose that the diorama could be, even though we've paid for it through the commission, that it could be an opportunity that someone gets the naming rights on it from the money that we got from we're trying to use this money, and we could make a little plaque that says, in honor of, or not provided by, but, in memory of, that we start actually putting people's names on things that are important in the museum that we've spent money on, even though that money might not directly be coming from ASTI or, we need to be thinking about using the money that people have given us.
I'm wondering if we should, because that's been given over the years for a lot of people, if we should make it sort of general. In memory and thanks to earlier Superior residents in whose memory this has been donated, or, some general sort of thing, not like what I just said.
Well, we could come back to, I didn't bring this up when we were on that subject, we could come back to using that historic donations account to pay for some of that expense on the diorama too.
Yeah, I thought we'd already decided to. Am I wrong?
Did we?
I don't think that's ever.
Oh, okay.
officially
Maybe
decided.
just talked
We
about.
definitely talked about it.
Okay, which is why I was saying what I was saying.
Well, shall we, are we through with number 8?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, Katie and Lindsay.
good going, yeah.
Lindsay's just
We could back up a
really
little bit
Lindsay
and
emailing me saying, how are you doing on the brochure? It was great, it's what I needed.
we could back up to number 7 and see if we want to make it a formal motion to utilize the historic donations account for up to, whatever, $800 on applying it to the diorama construction.
I so move.
Okay?
To me, that's a very meaningful way to use this money that we have to use this year, or it just gets totally absorbed into the other monies.
You want to word the motion the way you want it?
I like what you said.
Oh, okay. That does speed up democracy a little bit, doesn't it?
Okay.
So the motion is to apply the $800.
How much was it Ted Asti who was it last year, that you guys that we got a bunch of money?
It was Ted and Denzel.
And how much money?
Yeah, we didn't get a lot
Didn't
from
get a
it.
lot.
A few hundred though, for one of them?
Yeah.
That was Susan Spence gave us,
Well, that was, yeah,
that was in memory of Margie Asti.
That was way
yeah, we
back.
got a lot of money in the past
Yes.
in honor of, in memory of Margie Asti,
Okay.
the Lafayette,
Hutchison?
yeah, and several others. We've got a long list. And of course,
And
well,
then Denzel, but that
yeah, I don't-
wasn't much.
a lot of that money's gone now, I think. It's hard to know how much.
But I mean, we have a record of what it was, I mean. right?
Yeah, Bob has that.
Uh-huh. I would just, I think if we have to do a more general plaque, we can. I would just, and maybe in the future, moving forward, I think it's important to do very specific plaques also for families, the Asti family, whatever the Ackland, like to actually name it. And maybe I'm wrong and I know we're not using that dollar for that dollar, but that pot for that, that I think it's okay to say, and maybe that's in the future. Maybe this one, we could do something more, more generic, but, so we can, I guess, talk about that.
Well, there was a motion we could
It
discuss.
hasn't been seconded,
No,
so.
it needs to get worded well and seconded, then we can
Gotta
continue
word it well.
discussion.
Using I've
No
got,
pressure.
was Mary Cartwright proposed using the historic preservation account
Donations
money,
account.
or
Historic
I have
donations.
glasses
Get
on.
those glasses.
where are we?
Historic.
The historic donations account for the diorama. That'll use all the money, right?
Well, currently $1,200 has already been paid out of the preservation account towards Ron on his progress up to date, so I guess this will be moving forward then. Any other outstanding or invoices from him?
There you go. He's helping with this one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause there's more coming. Okay, so it's been moved that the funding for the
Remainder,
continuation of the construction of the diorama come from the historic donations account. And is there a second?
I'll second.
This is a
No
tie.
fighting.
Who gets it?
I don't know, that was,
Why don't you give it to Katie?
you've had a lot of seconds in your life.
In your life, yeah.
I am a second.
Is there any further discussion on this before we?
I mean, I definitely think that's a good use of the money, but I also think we need to have some kind of idea of how we want to use donations going forward, since that's been a big question this year.
We've talked about it
That's true.
forever
Yeah.
almost, and it's just, it's
Could
not
you
an
put
easy
together
thing.
like a guideline or something for, at some meeting in the future, so
Yeah.
we know what we're doing?
if it can't be held in a separate account after this year, And it just goes into the historic preservation account from the town.
Well, so after this year, are we just getting rid of that account?
I believe so.
Well, yeah, just a refresher, remember Finance Department wanted us to essentially, you know, because it kind of comes in and goes into essentially a revenue account, they wanted us to technically zero it out at the end of 18. Well, they're allowing the group to kind of come up with a plan moving forward in 2019, so it was carried over to 2019. So there's currently $815 in there, and then you guys can, kind of what you're doing now, discuss what you want to do with it this year. But yeah, any unused fund, any unused dollars in there come December 31st will be essentially zeroed out.
And-
So then
and
next year, so if we got like
Not transferred,
$100 donation on January 1st of next year, what happens with that?
Then there'll be $100 in the historic donations account.
So the donations account still exists, it'll just
Yeah,
be
it
zero.
still exists, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, it'll
Oh,
still
thank you.
exist, but
That's
the
right.
funds aren't going to carry over at the end of the
Okay.
year.
So if January 1st, we get this $100, 2020, then we'll have to spend it within 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you get a bunch of money in December of this year, I mean, I don't know, maybe there would be some flexibility there, you know, like after, since there's no December meeting, and it's like, oh geez, you know, we didn't have an opportunity to spend that, so.
Yeah, okay,
I
okay.
think it's like, you know.
So there still will be the account, but
Yes,
we
yeah.
have to tidy it up every year.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a
For that
motion on the
clarification.
floor. And so any further discussion about the motion? It's good to clarify that budget category.
Okay, I don't have any discussion on the motion. Are we done with that?
That's what I just called it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
Okay, but I still have a problem with our losing the money at the end of the year. I just want to go on record as disagreeing with that, because people donate to the museum for a specific reason. And if we don't happen to use it, and for it to just be lost, I disagree with that.
Well, and my side of it is what I'll state mine as well, that if I donate somewhere and it doesn't get used, that bothers me just as much as the money going away. So we just have to figure out how to be good stewards of people's money. But I agree, I mean, I think we've just got to come up with a better plan, and then we'll all feel more comfortable because it'll get used.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed, yeah. It'll make us be sharper about using it instead of just letting it sit there.
Yeah, a long time ago, some of us went to the Lafayette Museum, and they have a list in their museum of all the donations that have ever come in. We were going to do that, and then we really never did it. I don't think at the time we even had a museum. So that kind of got lost by the wayside. We've still got an accounting of where all the donations we've ever taken in. Bob has it, and I also have it in terms of the thank you notes I sent out. But it's a pretty long list. I'm not sure if it's feasible to make that long list.
So you get
Or
into
just
an
have
whole
it on
issue
paper.
about having
We
that.
could have a folder with, sorry.
Yeah, we could do that. That way we don't
I mean, there's
lose.
a $10 one,
the
the same as a
history
$100 donation and that sort of thing too. So it's a constant problem in recognizing donations, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in the next meeting, we can talk through coming up with some guidelines for how to handle donations.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
said what you wanted to say?
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking, yeah, there's different ways to figure out.
Ken, you started to ask a question or make a comment.
I was going to try to get more context. I'm clearly behind in the conversation of why those funds would disappear. I don't understand.
Yeah, I guess for lack of a better detailed explanation, it's like when finance like reconciles the books at the end of the year, it's having this pot of money, essentially revenue, and, you know, applying it to somewhere or whatnot. So, yeah, Jeff and Paul, I don't know, yeah, they came to me towards the end of last year to approach the group, and so so.
And we weren't using the account
using-
for much. We had
Yeah, it
this
was-
other account that we were.
This is after the fire truck was.
It used to be the fire truck kind of
Gotcha.
donation account, and then, you know.
And this fund is purely represents donations that
Yeah.
people have made? Okay.
Yeah, sales of books goes into a different account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we do like an item on the agenda next time to figure out what we're doing with that?
We can do that. I passed out the brochure that Katie made up, just mostly get some more eyes on it for the spring program, get some more eyes on it, see if there's anything else that needs to be on there, or if we got anything left. 'Cause, I think we're in business with that flyer.
That looks great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it looks good.
looks real good, and I got all 5 people on there too, huh? So plan accordingly, everybody. Get this publicity out to other museums and on the
Oh, I
on the
need to
Sentinel.
get you a flyer, or did you send the flyer to Brian for promoting it through the
No,
town?
I didn't.
Yeah, actually, Larry, we're talking about this flyer, right?
Yes,
Can you send that to me like ASAP, because we're gonna get our Pros E-Blast out here soon?
yes. I can, or Katie can.
Or yeah, one of you guys can, please.
And the, have the publicity in the Sentinel also, and so you want me to do that since you
I can do it.
probably have to go to work, but don't you?
Do you have to work?
Want me to do
I have
it?
5 things that I have to do from this meeting already,
I'll
so.
do it then.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll take one to Louisville Museum, and I can take
Oh,
one
yeah, great.
to Lafayette.
I usually send them electronically over there, but if you want
You know,
to.
And we can post one, leave a few here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, the historic walk is set up for the 4th of May. I think we should realistically not plan on Bob being there, I think. You know, he did it last year and he wasn't doing well, and he somehow gutted it out and so did a great job. I don't know if we can expect that of him or put that kind of pressure on him.
Yeah, for somebody that's in his condition at the moment anyway,
Yeah.
it's asking quite a bit, I think.
So, but otherwise, anybody and everybody has plans on going out along, show up, I guess.
So will you be our main tour guide there?
I can do that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know you, okay.
If anybody else wants to. then we
And
can
do you
share.
guys need help then ahead of time? Who goes and puts the things
Wally
out?
and I.
Okay,
Wally
so
and
you're.
Rob and I, but
Okay.
again, we may.
Well, if you guys need help, let us know. We
We'll
can.
do that on the Friday before.
Yeah.
so.
I guess, is there any way that we could put up some kind of a marker that would remain there permanently so that we don't have to go out every year and try and put something up, a permanent temporary marker, or I don't know if that's the way to word that, but
That's what I had volunteered to get with the Boulder County Open Space with, but I haven't,
Well,
I haven't done that
signage,
yet.
You're talking about signage though, aren't you?
I'm talking signage,
Yeah.
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 Is that what you're talking about, or
well,
sort of?
sort of, but not necessarily, I
Oh.
guess, because we go out and just put up a surveyor stake that says, I don't remember what it was, superintendent's house or whatever, and then we pick them up right after that. Some way we could get that out there permanent, or
Well,
something we don't have to pick up every time that
if it's
was,
just laugh, I think probably not. I'd have to do it every time.
I would love to see those same kind pieces of information out there
Yeah.
on permanent signage.
I think for the time being anyway, Wally, we have to just do that.
Yeah, that's on the list of things to work on in the future, so.
Yeah, and I need to find the open space person.
I can send you that information.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, this afternoon, I'm going to meet with Melissa, and we're going to work on coming up with a brochure, how to get to the mine site from, I handed that out a meeting or two ago, so we're going to actually come up with a finished product. We'll work on it today and see how soon we can get it. ready. So I think, that and this, those are big steps to get these brochures out to people. Any other old business? New business, been thinking about this. I'm going to talk with Ron for sure, see if he will be finished by April 2nd. So that's a realization that that's coming up so soon. That's about when we'll be probably moving into our new house and stuff too. So, so anybody available besides the usual suspects, or are the usual suspects available? Yeah. So,
On what's this?
an opening on mine.
April
The
6th.
museum opening on.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be here.
Yeah, I should be.
I think we should be able to get
attend.
staff. We always seem to have enough. And Alan a lot of times shows up too. I'll be attending the roundtable on the 21st. And again, like I said, we're working on the Square Nail Awards right now, getting the nominations together for that. Yeah, the next ANFRAM meeting,
Naming the future trailhead,
I'm sorry, I skipped that.
number 3.
Oh, I did. Okay, naming of the Shan Shan place. Where in the heck are we on this anyway? 'Cause-
Yeah, and maybe Ken can provide a little update, because I think the board had dinner with OSAC the other night, but
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think things are quite as pressing. I know I mentioned like potential, going to the board in June with a
Yeah.
potential name, but I don't think it's gonna be quite that, urgent, but,
Oh, okay, good.
I don't know, Ken, you probably have a little update with things.
Yeah, so I know the construction will hold off until I think late June, early July, due to raptor nesting,
Oh,
to try to avoid construction impacting that. So I imagine that there's probably a little bit more flexibility. I know OSAC was still hoping to get any input that you guys all would have, and was hoping for naming ideas. I think one of their representatives was probably going to reach out to you guys, but if you do it proactively, I'm sure they would appreciate it also.
Yeah, I think Sean Samuelson is
Yeah.
reaching out to Larry.
that's one reason why I was asking, is because he's asked an update as to progress, and and I don't know if it's formal, or if it's just him being interested, or if it's the whole commission.
I think he is, they've kind of assigned different people, just like you guys have, to take on different projects within the group, and I think he's in charge of getting all the different feedback from the different committees in town. Yeah.
Well,
So are we going to submit any names at this meeting, or are we going to hold off?
I think if the group has any potential names, you can throw them out there now, yeah, I don't think it has.
I would propose one of the names we put on it would be the Denzel, the Ackland Morgan Trailhead. Or trail, however.
Yeah.
Do you want to go through, do you have the list of like all of our ideas?
did we do that?
Through email.
Oh, no, I
There's
don't.
probably 6 or 7 on there.
Was it really?
And I would say any ideas you do come up with, I don't know what was in the emails, but the context for why that would be an appropriate name would help just, I think there could be appropriate signage that goes up there, and that would help explain the historical context of why the name's chosen and whatnot.
And also, are we going to be the final one, or are we going to propose
Like 3
an
different
array of names and they choose one of them? OSAC chooses?
I mean, I think from what I understand, it'll probably be something where maybe you guys come up with like 3 names and a rationale, like Ken said, for each, and then probably the board will have the ultimate, be the decision makers on that, out of those 3 or 4 or whatnot, so.
Well, I apologize, I'm drawing a blank on your
I have it
replies.
if we
Okay.
want to, if
Well, good
we
for
want
you,
to
Katie.
say them.
Okay.
So the Ackland, Denzel Ackland Trailhead was one, but then Ackland Morgan Trailhead. Larry, you said Red Hawk Trailhead, Hake Homestead Trail, CNS or DNI, CNS Trailhead.
That was me, yeah.
DNI, of course, the
That's
railroad
mine,
guy. Interurban Trailhead, that would be cool. And then you and I both said the Josephine Roach, or Roach
Okay.
Trailhead. Then Another person said Ackland Morgan. Mine Camp Trail, Hake, Orman, the Kite Trail named for the railroad line. Industrial, the industrial trailhead. Sounds kind of funny, but. The Kite Trail, I thought that would be kind of neat, but just because it's, I'm sure you have to make it kind of like, that people think it's interesting too, right?
It's intriguing.
Yeah.
Kite route trail or something.
Yeah,
So it gives
yeah.
more context to it.
And I do think, I feel like as the commission, I think we were always saying, do you know where the mine was? This is where the mine camp houses were. You know, I think, I mean, that is like, you're gonna be right there looking at that hill. So, to talk about that. So that's all the ones that we talked about.
Thanks for helping me out.
Yes, thank you.
What happens to have a senior citizen chair?
So 12 options.
And to add a little bit more context, this was something that former trustee Rita Dozell really pushed to make sure you guys were incorporated into the process with. She felt it was really important to make sure your input was heard. And
Yeah,
I think
love
everyone on
that.
the board still agrees.
Good.
So I think whatever you push forward, OSAC will certainly look at it and will come to the board, but I think your ideas will be very strongly considered
Good.
for that final process.
When do they meet? Should we like go to their meeting and kind of
Probably.
present it?
That'd probably be a good idea.
Second Wednesday of the month at 6:30.
So the next one, so they've already had theirs. So the next one would be April 10th.
It might end up getting rescheduled. Well, I know when the youth leadership was canceled last month, that one got rescheduled.
Actually, sorry.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. So they can talk about the mine
So-
campaigns.
I gotta go, sorry, but
So is she, yeah, so shall we set as our goal then to come up with the 3 to 5 names of the next meeting? Or do we have,
That's what I was.
too late. Was that or is that okay?
is that okay? That's fine.
That's plenty of time.
But maybe you could still email with him and just say we
Yes.
have some really great options that we're working on,
Yeah.
so that they know that we're really paying attention to it.
Clarify how many options they want.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, then I can put it on the agenda for the next meeting and we
That'd
can
be great.
zero in on 3 to
Okay.
5 or
Sorry,
however
guys.
many they
Okay,
want.
thanks.
Okay, Katie, thank you. Okay, good.
And then keep our brainstorming list for future naming
Yes.
opportunities.
Go back and find that. Okay, Anne Fran meeting is next time is at History Colorado. So if anybody wants to go down to our State History Museum for the next meeting, I'll keep you in touch. I'll keep you notified of all the heads ups on those. Well, the Woodwright shop, when Ross came last month and he said they're going to set up this tent, and put up all these old-fashioned woodworker guys, and so we thought we kind of endorsed it and we would be open, have the museum open that day. So is there anything more we need to talk about that at this point?
Well, he also, I think, had a request that we give him
Oh, yeah.
some money for gas in order to come out here, and I really don't like that idea for the simple fact you should start a precedent, and anybody that wants to come in or whatever, it's like, well, we want expense money, and I think it's a bad precedent.
Any disagreement with that?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. I think we all agree with that, so that we'll make it clear next time he approaches us that we'll have the museum open, but we wouldn't be contributing to the gas money fund, yeah.
Now, is there a certain time they're coming in that we have to have a special opening, or is there
I mean,
some way?
this May 18th, was that their
Yeah.
date?
Is that
That was the
firm?
date, yeah.
So,
They
yeah, he's
can't be
already-
there 2 weeks earlier, or?
That's what I was wondering, if means they're coming in from out of town, is there a reason they couldn't come in when our museum is open, and then we could also use that as a draw to maybe come in the museum that day?
Well, that's our historic walk day also.
He's already communicated with us, and as far as the paperwork and stuff, and with that group, that, the morning of May 18th, I don't think we quite have times yet, but, so yeah, I think May 18th is pretty firm.
He did
but-
do the paperwork, you said?
Yeah, I think he sent it in for
Okay.
Ashley Park,
Okay.
reserving that. Certainly at the museum, I mean, it's gonna be something that we probably promote, you know, given the uniqueness of this, but yeah, if you guys did a special museum opening in conjunction with that, would be great. I mean, certainly not required, you know, but, I don't necessarily have times yet though, so.
Yeah, I think, sounds like we're fitting into their schedule, so.
Yeah, you asked him about moving the time when he was here, and he said he already had everything planned out, so.
And I couldn't help but think about those 2 big toolboxes we have full of hand tools down in the basement. We could put those out on a table or something like that. So. Any other new business? Anything else for the good of the order? Well, just a point of privilege of the chair, we got to drum up some of our friends, acquaintances, neighbors, other people interested in history to get involved as volunteers or filling the opening we have on the commission, because we need some more personnel right now. So with Denzel gone and Bob and Gail are not active, and Alan is spotty on her involvement. None of that's criticism, it's just the reality. We need to have some more people. So if we think about someone else in our community that could contribute, I keep reaching out to some of the people who've dropped in on at the museum and so forth, and they just keep saying, "Oh, you're doing a good job. Thanks for doing it." No, thank you.
You know, hopefully we'll have both May 4th and May 18th and our talk. Be able to let people know, hey, we could use you.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and
As we'll have a
I
wider
can print out some of these
audience.
specifically for that, for the talk, and then get the brochure
Otherwise-
ready, and
This is also a very good topic for like Chili Fest and that sort of thing, for recruiting, as people walk by the table to see if you can draw them in,
On July 4th.
and July 4th.
Yeah.
All the big town events that
Yeah, yeah.
are there for
show
tables.
off the fire truck.
Yep.
But we found back in the past at the Chili Fest, they're more interested in the beer and the chili.
Yes.
It's hard to compete there,
It
right?
is.
Can we bring the fire truck to that though?
I suppose we could, but that's more of an evening event too. It starts later, doesn't it, Brian, like 5 or 4 or something like that?
Chili Fest?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 3 to.
That's
Oh.
afternoon.
Yeah,
Never mind.
yeah.
And the same
Time
guy couldn't
changed,
find
but I
the
don't remember.
list of proposed names too. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn then.
Also move.
Mary moves and
I'll second the motion.
Lindsay seconds. Okay, I don't need to have a vote. Let's just call the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you
As
very much.
always.
Thanks for letting me join you guys' meeting today.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate having that connection, so.
Original replacement for Rita.